March 7, 1945, 3:18 p.m. Remagen, Germany. The Rhine River runs black under a low ceiling of smoke and cloud, wide, cold, and final. For the Allied armies, the Rhine isn't just a river, it's a sentence. Cross it, and the war collapses into Germany's heartland. Fail, and you buy the enemy time, weeks of it, to regroup, reinforce, and bleed you again. U.S. tanks from the 9th Armored Division roll into Remagen expecting the same thing every unit has been seeing for days: a river, a destroyed bridge, and Germans on the far bank waiting with guns. But when the lead Sherman crests a rise, the commander sees something that makes his brain stall. A steel truss bridge still standing. The Ludendorff Bridge, 2 towers, a long spine of metal, and a roadway that should already be in the river. It's the kind of sight that doesn't feel real because it shouldn't exist. And then, like the bridge is trying to remind you it's war, there's a sound from the far end. A crackle, a flash, a dull, heavy thump. The Germans are trying to blow it. If they succeed, the story ends the way it's supposed to. If they fail, if the Americans get even one platoon across, Germany gets split open like a locked door kicked from the hinges. In the front of the American column is a man who isn't a famous tank ace or a decorated commando. He's an Army engineer attached to the armor, a quiet sergeant named Danny Klein. And Danny Klein sees the bridge the way engineers see everything, not as a miracle, as a problem made of parts: steel, concrete, charges, detonator wire, fuses, timers. He does one fast calculation. If the Germans have wired the bridge properly, they can drop it the moment the first American steps onto it. If the wiring is damaged, or rushed, or incomplete, there's a chance. A narrow, brutal chance. And Danny Klein is about to do something that makes absolutely no sense to anyone trained to survive a battlefield. He's going to run onto a bridge that is actively rigged to explode, with nothing in his hands but a pair of cutters and a pocket of courage. Because in the next few minutes, this war won't be decided by tanks or artillery. It will be decided by one object: a line, a cable, a strand of detonator wire. Time, place, object. March 7th, Remagen, the demolition wires. The kind of man who fixes things while other people break them. Danny Klein was born October 11, 1921, in eastern Ohio. Coal country, machine shops, river towns where your hands learned their purpose early. His father repaired industrial motors. His mother kept a household together on thin margins. Danny grew up around tools, not as hobbies, as survival. In high school, he wasn't the loud kid. He wasn't the star. He was the one people found when something stopped working. A generator, a truck ignition, a busted pump. Danny liked the simple honesty of it. Something is broken. You find the cause, you fix it. When the army took him, they saw the same thing his town always saw: a man with steady hands and a mind that didn't panic. So they trained him as a combat engineer, which is a strange job when you think about it. Engineers build bridges. Combat engineers destroy them. Engineers clear roads. Combat engineers mine them. They don't get the clean romance of infantry legends. They get wire, mud, and the sick knowledge that a mistake doesn't just kill you, it kills everyone behind you. Danny learned that the battlefield is just a machine under stress, and if you can keep the machine moving, you keep men alive. That was the belief he carried into Germany. Why the Rhine was the last door. By early March 1945, the Western Front felt like a building collapsing in slow motion. German units were retreating, surrendering, dissolving into exhausted fragments. But rivers still mattered. Rivers force armies to pause. They compress men and machines into narrow crossings. They turn motion into bottlenecks. And the Rhine was the biggest bottleneck of all. The Germans knew they couldn't stop the Allies everywhere, so they planned something simpler. Destroy the bridges, turn the river into a wall, make the Allies build their own crossings under fire. Every day you delay an army is a day you get to rearrange the pieces. That's why the Ludendorff Bridge, still standing at Remagen, was so shocking. It wasn't supposed to be there, which meant one of two things was true. Either the Germans failed, or the Germans were waiting for you to step onto it. The approach. Remagen was already in chaos when the Americans arrived. Small arms fire cracked from windows, smoke curled from damaged buildings. Civilians hid in basements and stairwells. On the far bank, German soldiers moved like nervous shadows around the bridge towers. Too many helmets, too many rifles, too much urgency. Then came the explosion. Not big enough, not final. The bridge shook, but it didn't fall. That's the moment the American commander gives an order that sounds like insanity and opportunity at the same time. Take it. Take a bridge that is literally trying to kill you. Infantry begin to move forward, and Danny Klein, combat engineer, doesn't look at the bridge like a path. He looks at it like a trap. He knows what German demolitions usually look like. Charges placed at key structural points, detonator wire run through conduits, firing circuits connected to a switch or a detonator box. He also knows what rushed demolitions look like. Ugly, incomplete, desperate. A bridge wired by exhausted men under air raids at artillery pressure isn't a perfect trap. It's a trap with seams, and seams can be cut. Danny pulls his cutters from his kit, checks them once, and starts forward. A lieutenant grabs his sleeve. "Klein, are you out of your mind?" Danny doesn't argue. He just says the only thing that matters. If we cut the lines, it can't drop on us. Then he runs. Onto the bridge. The moment Danny steps onto the Ludendorff Bridge, the world changes. The bridge isn't quiet. It hums with stress. It groans under its own weight like it's tired of being history. Gunfire snaps from the far bank. Rounds spark off steel beams. The air smells like smoke and cold iron. Danny keeps low, moving along the side where the structure gives him some cover. He's looking for signs of the demolition system. Bundles of wire, junction points, charge placements near support members, any kind of control box. And then he sees it. A run of cable, dark against the steel, looping along a beam toward the far tower. Detonator line. His heart punches once in his chest, because finding it means the Germans really did wire this bridge to fall. And it also means Danny's job is suddenly very simple. Cut it. Except nothing is simple while men are shooting at you. He crawls forward, belly against cold steel, and reaches for the cable. The cutters feel too small to matter. He hesitates for half a second, the half second where your body tries to protect you with fear. Then he remembers what's behind him. Tanks, infantry, medics, a whole division waiting for a crossing. Danny clamps down. Metal bites metal. The cable snaps. For a moment, nothing happens. No explosion, no collapse. Just silence. Danny exhales once. Then he sees another line, and another. Because German engineers don't run one wire, they run redundancy. Danny's hands move faster now, almost calm in the middle of madness. Clamp, snap, clamp, snap. The bridge keeps standing. The Germans on the far bank realize what is happening and pour fire onto the span.
Danny hears rounds whip past his head. He hears a scream behind him. Someone hit. He doesn't look. Looking is how you lose the next wire. He reaches a junction point where several cables converge. This is the heart. If he cuts the wrong thing, nothing matters. If he cuts the right thing, everything changes. Danny leans in, eyes narrowed, breath fogging. He chooses. He cuts.
The moment the war turns sideways. The bridge doesn't explode. It doesn't drop. It just remains. And that's when the Americans surge. Infantry sprint across the span like men trying to outrun fate. Boots hammer the roadway. Steel rings underfoot. Behind them, tanks creep forward, careful and heavy. The Germans fire desperately from the far end. Machine guns rattle, mortars thump. But now something irreversible is happening. Americans are on the east bank of the Rhine. And once you have a foothold, you don't need the bridge to stay forever. You need it to stay long enough. Danny Klein isn't thinking about medals. He's thinking about minutes. Minutes are how bridges become history. He keeps moving, cutting what he can, ripping loose exposed cables, smashing small boxes with the butt of his tool, doing anything to buy time. A second German detonation attempt shakes the span again, another muffled blast from somewhere deep in the structure. The bridge shudders. Steel dust rains down. Men flinch, but it still doesn't fall. The Germans did not fail to try. They just failed to finish. And Danny Klein's cutters have turned their failure into an opening, holding the far bank. Crossing the bridge is one thing. Holding the far bank is another. The east side is a kill zone, open ground, scattered buildings, the bridge towers looming like concrete teeth. American infantry dig in where they can. Behind them, engineers start doing what engineers do, turning a miracle into a system. They mark lanes, they move traffic, they begin planning alternate crossings, because everyone knows the bridge might still fall. It's damaged, it's stressed, it's been hit. But the first crossing has already done its job. The Rhine is no longer a wall, it's a line you can push. Danny, crouched behind cover near the tower, finally lets himself feel his hands shaking. Not from cold, from the delayed arrival of fear. A lieutenant finds him and grabs his shoulder hard. "You cut it," the lieutenant says, half disbelief, half gratitude. Danny doesn't smile. He just looks back at the bridge, at the steel truss that is still standing, still humming. Then he says something simple, almost annoyed. They rushed the wiring, as if the difference between victory and delay was just poor workmanship. Which, in a way, it was. Aftermath. In the hours that follow, the bridge becomes a funnel. Men, tanks, trucks, guns, everything that can cross, crosses. The Germans throw everything they can at it. Artillery, air attacks, frantic counterfire. The span keeps taking punishment. No one trusts it, but everyone uses it. Because war rewards the path that exists. Danny Klein stays busy the way engineers always do after the moment of glory. Clearing debris, reinforcing positions, dragging wire out of lanes, helping get the next wave across. Later, when someone tries to write the story down, they argue about what mattered most: the commanders who ordered the assault, the infantry who ran the gauntlet, the tankers who pushed through. All of that mattered, but Danny Klein knows the truth can be smaller than the headlines. Sometimes history is a bridge that should have fallen and didn't because one man with steady hands cut the right wire at the right time. What this story is really about. There are two kinds of WW2 stories. The first is firepower. The second is decision-making under pressure. This is the second kind. Because Danny Klein didn't win Remagen by being stronger than the bridge, he won it by refusing to accept that the bridge belonged to the Germans. He treated it like a machine, and machines can be understood. Time, place, object. March 7th, Remagen, the demolition wires. The Rhine was a locked door. Germany expected it to stay locked. Danny Klein walked up with a pair of cutters and said in effect, "Let's see." And the war moved forward.